granniopteryx. She knows the truth, she's linking every link.
Hello. As Nigel Farage's popularity proceeds, we're getting an ever-increasing blizzard of critical postings and press from all sorts of quarters, and it's absolutely hilarious to watch. Here we have somebody called Tad Eastman, Welsh people who are smart, decent and have integrity don't support reform. Right, so yeah, don't vote for this man, unflattering picture of him, because you're a good person. Yeah, and then there's this one from John O'Connell. Look, there's a microphone there, which obviously tries to, well, create a comparison between Nigel Farage and a certain Austrian painter. And one thing we've learnt in the last 6 weeks since the documented incidents of racism from Farage, this is to do with old schoolmates of his being dug up to say bad things about him, and the many people saying, we don't care. It's clear that racist, nasty word, don't care that Farage is a racist, nasty word. Well, you know, that we don't care refers to a lot of the voting public, and that's what John O'Connell thinks of the voting public. And then there's this, Andrew T500, Nigel effing Farage seems to have missed the point. He's continued to be openly bigoted. That's almost as bad as being openly Jewish, isn't it? And then there's this here. Only morons, traitors and arseholes support reform. Right, well, if you support reform, yeah, that's what you are. That's what these people think you are. Then there's Mr. Gaz. Boarding school toff. Oh, we're not at all bigoted about people, are we? Grifted a living in the... He wasn't grifting. He was actually speaking out against the EU, using the EU as a platform. Took Russian money. I don't know, did he? Like his traitor mate Nathan Gill, don't know who he is, to enable, Brexit for Putin. So is anyone surprised he's grifting again? That's this guy, obviously, again, not bigoted at all. And then this fellow here, think before you vote for Farage. Hitler didn't start with camps. He started with make Germany great again, and so on. I remember the Democrats were talking about Trump being Hitler as well. And they, where was he? He had a rally somewhere in New York. And it turned out that the nascent American Nazi Party had a rally there in, 1932 or something. So that made him just like that, whoever it was. It's just the same tactics. They have no imagination at all. None whatsoever. And, they've just taken the Democrat playbook and moved it over to Farage. And that really worked for the Democrats. They can't help themselves. They absolutely can't help themselves. So anyway, these guys actually do think that all of this stuff about his behaviour as a school prefect is going to make him less popular. Well, first of all, nobody believes this Hitler stuff. Well, maybe they do, but what it is doing is they are confirming to themselves their worst opinions, but they don't like him anyway, so that's not going to change any minds. And with anyone else, it is making him more popular, especially the stories about his behaviour at school. Anyone who's seen that guy whining about how Farage got at him because he was Jewish, I just have no respect for him at all. And apparently there's another Jewish boy there who said Farage was no problem at all for him. So it probably wasn't that he was Jewish, but more likely is that he was a whiny little shit. That's just my guess. I'm not saying he was, you understand. And Farage just couldn't stand him. Anyway, that's a theory, okay? And the left just don't get it. And their tactics will not only not work, but it also reveals their complete misunderstanding of the culture of the average British voter. Every time I see those X-posts, I can't believe the comical desperation showing up in every line. And it is very comical. And why? Well, I'll show you why. It's because of this. Yeah. George MacDonald Fraser's creation, Sir Harry Paget Flashman, VC, KCB and KCIE, some of the highest awards given to anyone for conspicuous bravery in the British Empire. There are many people who will not have read either Tom Brown's School Days or the Flashman books, but they know and love the character anyway because I don't know if you do know Flashman, you will know he is not a nice character. But as self-serving, as cowardly, and as devious as Sir Harry is, he never loses sight of what he is. He never pretends to himself that he is anything other than a libidinous scoundrel. And I'd say his defining characteristic isn't his complete amorality, but his absolute honesty to himself about what he is. So I'll quickly go over just to, fill in some details. First of all, there's Tom Brown's School Days. Now, in the 1850s, Thomas Hughes wrote a semi-autobiographical book, Tom Brown's School Days, which chronicled the life of a young pupil at Rugby boarding school. This would have been around 1834 to 1835, a few years after the intensely Christian and progressive educator Thomas Arnold. Hang on, I'll find something about him. Yeah, here we are, Thomas Arnold. Nice picture of him. He tried to change the ethos of the place from the chaos to which it had descended by the 1820s, and they brought Arnold in to try and turn the ship around. So the first part of the original book, Tom Brown's School Days, details Tom Brown's maltreatment by and resistance to the school bully, who in the book is known only by his second name, Flashman. Tom was around 11 when he started at Rugby, and Flashman was in the fifth form, easily the biggest and heaviest of the pupils there, and the biggest bully. And he would have been therefore around 17 or 18 if he was in the fifth form. So that means Flashman must have started there around 1829. Really, and would have been, since his birth date is given as 1822, he would have been much younger than most. But it is mentioned in one of the books, his father was a notorious drunkard, and perhaps he'd been moved to the school there for his own safety. Whatever. He started school only a few months into the very beginning of Arnold's tenure as headmaster, and when it was still an anarchic establishment, which actually could be compared very unfavourably even with the bullying and violence that goes on in our prison system today. So that was Flashman's early experience. And you might ask why parents sent their kids to a place like that. Well, if they were rich enough, they sent their boys there, well, because the husband had been there when he was a child, and secondly because they knew it was tough, but they thought that would toughen the boy up in preparation for the sort of conditions awaiting him when he was out in savage foreign parts building an empire. In Tom Brown's School Days, Flashman is always seen through the eyes of young Tom, and only as a malign presence. But in the novels written by MacDonald Fraser, let's get back to this, he elaborates on Flashman's history and his view of the world. And his view of the world is very different from Tom Brown's. He sneers at Tom as a self-righteous, sanctimonious, priggish. I think he refers to him as a little swine, and he also refers to him as a pious little sneak and a puling little saint. Yeah, puling, I like that word. And to Flashman, Tom Brown represented everything that he despised about I suppose you could call it the middle-class Christian ethos of the rugby school that Dr. Arnold was determined to create. Now, the fact is, there were 12 Flashman novels. They were all very successful, and you can't read 12 Flashman novels about a thoroughly nasty character. You'd get fed up of it pretty quickly, but you could read them if you found Flashman's adventurousness, his flair, his determination, his clear-eyed view of Victorian middle-class hypocrisy, bourgeoisie really, together with a complete clarity about himself. You can read that. You can understand it. Yeah, he was a coward, an opportunist, a bit of a rat, actually a lot of a rat, but he was also not a hypocrite. Now, I'm not saying that Farage is any of those things, except for this. His irreverence and his obvious contempt for the utter blindness of what's become our ruling classes, their utter blindness to their own sanctimonious, self-righteous, self-blind dishonesty. And that's why the more that people like this, John O'Connell for instance, talk about Farage being the school bully, the more popular he'll become. And so you might say, well, Demi, why are you warning them? And even if this video went sort of madly viral, it wouldn't stop them from doing this sort of thing. Dictator in waiting, Hitler. It wouldn't stop them. Because they can't help themselves. These sorts of people just can't see what's going on in their own souls, so they won't even see what's going on here. Now, I do think Kemi Badenoch is a great asset to the Conservative Party, but I can't see people forgiving the Conservative Party for what they did before. And certainly I can't see them forgiving the Labour Party for what they're doing now. So despite the fact that I am not entirely sure about Nigel Farage, at least he appears to be giving us a fighting chance. That's all I can say. I'm not telling you that that's what will happen. I'm saying that's how I'm seeing it now. If only because he has shown himself to have the sort of characteristics that we found so endearing in Harry Flashman, of all people. All right, till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.